Are you in your 20s, 30s, maybe early 40s, and thinking about the future and what you leave behind to the next generation, setting up and planning for your family, and making the most of these decades? This conversation came up this morning in one of my morning meetings, and it really felt like this thought applied to more than just that one meeting. And that is this concept of what do we leave behind to the next generation? Let's talk about financially. So there's a guy named Russ Crossan from Ron Blue Trust, or Ronald Blue and Trust. He wrote a book called Your Life Spent Well, or A Life Spent Well. In it, he has a diagram, which I found very clarifying for life and career and business planning. So we spend most of our life in our best years heaping up financial capital and wealth that we then pass on to generations, our children, our children's children. And we spend our best years going to battle, going to war, building businesses, investing in stocks and real estate and other businesses. What would pass on to our children, if we think of it as a house, that financial capital would be the roof. Now, the walls would be the social capital, how we interact with others and how we build relationships with and get along with other people. Because that's the glue of our life. That's what our life is all about. The quality of our life is determined by the quality of our relationships. Often the quality of our relationships is determined by the quality of our communication and or questions. The foundation is the spiritual capital that we leave. Now, I believe in God. So for me, that's, do I know God and obey and follow God? And do I equip and lead my children in that? So, foundation. Equipping my children to know and obey God. Equipping them to build healthy relationships with other people that they maintain. And then how to handle financial wealth. Here's the point that he made, and here's the point for today, maybe for you. People spend their 30s and 40s focused on climbing company ladders, accelerating and advancing their career, building their businesses and investment portfolios, which are all good things. And anything overextended, any strength overextended becomes a weakness. So putting all this time and effort and energy into the financial capital, we leave behind this excellent financial inheritance and structure for the next generation. But if they don't have the social capital to have healthy relationships with quality people, how many people do you know who experience some ruin or setback in their life because the quality of the relationship or the degradation of the relationship or the breakdown of the relationship or the relationship with the wrong people, either in marriage or in business or otherwise, or maybe outside of those things when they should have kept it in that relationship. And then there's the spiritual relationship of knowing your creator or knowing who designed you and living that way. Because if you read the Bible, it's very clear on who he is, who we are, and how we're called to live. And arguably, that has led to a lot of the success of the West because it set the context, and that's a bigger conversation. It set the context for how we interact and the level of trust and agreement we have in governments and business interactions. All that to say is, are you spending your best years focused purely on the financial piece of the structure? And do you have the social and spiritual foundations in place for both yourself, but also for your children? You might not have children yet, you might not have a spouse yet, but you may want them. And so are you getting into the habit of it now? My kids are almost 1, 3, and 4 going on 5. What I've noticed is the habits and things that I value becomes the context for the life that they live in. The best time to start that is before they're born, because it sets the foundation and trajectory that you're going to invite your spouse and your children into. If you're not married yet, become and set the vector for the life that you feel like you're meant to live now, so that you attract the person who's going to come on that journey, rather than attracting the person who's coming into the direction that you have right now. And you might not have an intentional, clear direction right now, which means you may be attracting the sort of person that's going that direction, which you don't even know what it is. How dangerous is that? When I met my wife, I told her my life purpose: to empower and inspire people to be their God-given greatness. She told me I stole her life purpose. Who else would you want to do life with in a marriage context than someone who has the same life purpose as you? That was an extremely great blessing. And if I didn't know it, how would I know that? So that's something I would encourage you to clarify. Ask yourself the question, what are you focused on? Now, here's the thing, and apologies, this is a little long. The financial capital and wealth that you build and leave behind, there's this lie that you have to get it done yesterday and you're behind. The reality is that based on the relationships and the skill and the experience that you have, you will make more money in your 50s and 60s than you did in your 30s and 40s, because of all those things and how you're set up. And you'll do it in the context of having a healthy marriage and having healthy business partnerships and having healthy relationships with your children, which will lead to longevity. You don't have to rush and sacrifice these other things, because some of it will come later. So as you think about the trajectory of your life, what's important and where you're going, take some time today, like take 5 minutes, take 15 minutes to just pause and think about, where am I going, and where do I want to be, and what do I want it to look like? And what does it look like right now? And if it doesn't look like how you want it to, that's okay. But if there's not, the first part is having an awareness. If there's no awareness that things need to shift, they'll never shift. But at least if you have some awareness, great. If you already have that awareness, then the question is, what do you need to shift? What can shift? And if there's too many things to shift, then ask yourself the question, what's the simplest, easiest thing that I could shift right now that would make a difference? Or what would be the thing that I could shift that would make the biggest impact? Might be one of those things. And then go and do it.